And we are live. What is going on? Another episode of Ring Kings Podcast, another live stream for Ring Kings Podcast. We just finished watching Jaron Boots Ennis dominate Roiman Villa in was a 10th round knockout.
Yeah.
Look, great performance by Boots, right? Look, we're critical of him because we want to see him have a fight some higher competition, and he didn't really do it in this fight, but he still looked good. Villa is a style of fighter. He'd never been knocked down before, and Boots, I mean, honestly, they probably could have stopped it after like the 6th or 7th round. If I'm his corner, I'm like, look, I don't need you to lose any more brain cells. You're tough, we know it, but let's just call it a night. You ain't got it, right? But he let him go out on the shield, and that's exactly what happened. Boots put him away. He looked great. There's a couple of things that we can kind of nitpick at, but I think it was a great performance for him.
Yeah, I think Roiman is a good, solid fighter. He's coming off of a big win over Rashidi Ellis. Probably the biggest puncher that Ennis has fought. And I mean, he landed some really, really hard shots on Ennis, and they had zero effect. Ennis was just too fast, both with his hand speed and his foot speed. He landed pretty much anything he wanted all night. And he was really kind of just putting on a show in there, and it is it's not the top guys in that division, but it is an impressive thing to beat. Like I said, he's a good solid fighter and a guy who's never even been knocked down, let alone knocked out. Yeah. So it was an impressive performance from Ennis.
Yeah, Boots look very, very sharp, very focused. As you said, B, like the hand speed, the foot speed. The IQ was just, I mean, it was on display. Like it seemed like he knew what Romain was going to do, what he was going to throw, because he was blocking everything. It seemed like for the most part. Yeah, man, very, very sharp, man. Shout out to Boots, man. I we talked about this before the fight, Jose, and we said like, man, he's going to need a dominant showing, and he did that. He didn't lose a round. Some of those rounds were so bad you probably could have scored them 10-8, honestly, because they were just so one-sided. But shout out to Boots, man. He looked very, very sharp tonight.
Yeah. Ferris, you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. What's up?
Why is your screen blue?
I don't know.
Did you get to see the fight?
Yes, I did. Is that better?
I mean,
I like the blue
one half a dozen of the other.
It's not blue anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
I chose the blue because I don't have my camera right now, and the blue matched the the aesthetic. You know what I mean?
Cool.
That's what I thought.
Gotcha.
Like that, But yeah, I early on, I was having trouble getting the fight, so I missed the early couple rounds, but I ended up getting around like the 7th. So I watched the last 3. I liked how Boots was fighting behind combinations. He wasn't kind of like, and it wasn't like basic combinations like the 1-2-1-2. He sprinkled in some uppercuts. Definitely at times where he whatever he wanted, he got. And then the last bits of the knockout where he went left, right, and dude just went rigor mortis and fell. I'm like, all right, dang. I make fun of him because of his name, but he's good. He's a damn good fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, like I said, Roiman is a solid fighter, is a strong puncher, but he is there to be hit. All right, defense is not his number one priority by any stretch of the imagination. He does have kind of slow-ish hands. He tends to throw big looping hooks, and like you can see that stuff coming. But still, I mean, Ennis was clearly on another level from Villa tonight.
Hey, shout out to Dre for coming through in the live stream at 1
Dre?
a.m. Appreciate you, man. And
what up, Dre?
And for those that are watching or watch the replay or listen to this, check out Mr. Galloway. All right. He is an artist. He's been doing this for a minute. And he's constantly putting out new content. And it's all dope. So go over to his YouTube, Mr. MISTERR Galloway. All right. And you can catch him on SoundCloud and Spotify, all that good stuff. All right. Check him out.
Baltimore to ATL.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So Boots, after the fight, obviously he wants Spencer Crawford. He wants the winner of that. And they told him, look, probably not. Jim Gray probably told it's probably not going to happen. There's a rematch clause, so it might be a rematch. And he said, fine, give me Stanionis, or I'll take Ugas, or I'll take whoever, right? Keith Thurman, whoever. So that one of those fights needs to be his next fight.
Yeah.
Oh, he wants to fight Keith Thurman?
Yeah. I mean,
so we'll see him in 3 years.
Apparently, Thurman said on Brian Custer's podcast that if Al Heyman wants that, they get the contract together. So he's talking a good game, but Boots is talking about fighting again this year. And man, we all know how Thurman does. So I don't know if I don't know. But either one of those matchups, man, would be good fights for him. Stanionis, Ugas, even though we haven't seen Ugas, what are we looking at? Almost 2 years?
Since Spence fight, right?
Yeah. And then, Thurman, I mean, obviously out of the three, I would prefer to see Boots and Thurman. It's just time. It's just time for Boots, right? It's that time. He's saying the right things. He calling the right names. It's just that time at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, Keith Thurman, look, we know what it is. We tease him a lot because he takes his time to get in that ring. But once he gets in that ring, he's no joke. All right. So that will be one. If he can win that fight, that would be a huge win for his resume, because he even Crawford and Spence haven't gotten a chance to fight him yet. Not through no fault of their own, but but he would have that win over them. That would definitely put a spotlight on him. Even a good win against Ugas, but yes, that has to be next for him. And I think he's pushing for that. Like before, he seemed to have like a one-track mind. It was either Spencer Crawford, but now he's just like, look, whoever, right? I like his answer he gave tonight. Give me Stanionis. Speaking of Stanionis, there's supposed to be another fight. This probably would have been the headline for the stream.
Yeah.
Ortiz versus Stanionis, right? But Virgil Ortiz pulled out for a third time. I didn't even realize this was the third fight the third time he pulled out for this fight. I thought this was like the third time he's pulled out of a fight.
Yeah.
Guys, I mean, what's
He's
going on with
the
Virgil Ortiz?
unluckiest person in the world.
Yeah, that's one way to frame it. I don't think luck had anything to do with it. I think this. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's a health issue going on there, but it just seems to happen every time right before the fight's about to happen.
I mean, there's obviously something going on. Like, he's not afraid to fight this guy, because if you were afraid, you wouldn't make the fight 3 times.
I'm not saying he's afraid. So. No, but people are floating out there. Maybe he can't make weight.
But again, in that situation, you're not making it 3 times at the same weight. If you know that that's your issue, that you can't make that weight, you're not making this fight 3 times at that weight.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because something happening.
I personally think it's I think he's protesting Golden Boy Promotions. De La Hoya, he's got beef with De La Hoya. He don't want to fight for him anymore. He's trying to force De La Hoya to drop him. Nobody wants to fight over there anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Look, yeah. I get why. Look, I bet you if he ends up getting dropped from Golden Boy, because I'm sure De La Hoya is at the point now where he's very frustrated. If he gets dropped, he goes over to PBC, and you'll never see him miss another fight, miss weight, none of that. He gonna look like Virgil Ortiz that we all thought he could be.
I mean, possibly.
Yeah,
Possibly.
it's I'm reading something now. Um, so Shelly Finkel, who is Stanios's manager, told Yahoo Sports that Ortiz was taken to a hospital. That was according to Dan Raphael. Um, Ortiz manager stated doctors would not let him fight. That was a statement opposite of Golden Boy's Oscar De La Hoya, who said Ortiz himself pulled out of the belt.
And that's why people don't like Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, so
So his opponent is basically covering for him while his promoter threw him underneath the bus.
Yeah. Now, Golden Boy president Eric Gomez said that Ortiz fainted the night before and was taken to a hospital and were waiting on the doctors to know if there's a fight. So yeah, now he does have an extensive, medical history. Obviously, he's been dealing with something after he tested positive for COVID in 2020. You know, it he not only did this fight get canceled or postponed 3 times, it also canceled a fight against Samuel Vargas, who he did end up coming back to fight him, and then he did end up winning that fight. So yeah, it's something with some type of medical condition, that was caused after he contracted COVID. So I don't know, bro, but it's odd. Something I'll tell you what, if it's that serious, right? Because we're talking about 4 fights that this medical condition could have, affected in one way or another, right?
Stop fighting.
It might be that time. You know what I mean? He's young, talented, but like, if it's that, then some consideration may need to be had and made for going forward for his career.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has had 3 fights since that Vargas fight at 147, right? So, I mean, I don't want to really speculate as to what, could possibly be going on with him. I mean, he's having some sort of issues, but he has been able to fight. I mean, he's been some, I don't want to say he's been terribly active, but, his last fight was last August. So a little less than a year out of the ring up until, this cancellation or postponement. It's tough. This kind of stuff always it does in most cases just come down to luck. Like he gets hit with something right, because I mean one of the fights I know was like a viral infection that he got right before the fight. And that had to be postponed. So I mean sometimes that happens with athletes where they just go through a bad stretch and then they come out of it.
Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. But look, people are gonna wonder 3 times for the same fight. That's
Yeah.
So whatever it is, hopefully he gets over it.
Yeah, if it's an infection too, like the last time, with boxing, man, a lot of like you're always you're always being cut, you're always sweating, sometimes you don't have a shirt on, so like you can get some type of infections. Sometimes, I remember a couple UFC fighters got some staph infections, so they had to pull out their fights. That happens a lot. So like that's normal, but like, man, something's going on with this kid that he needs further medical testing and medical research on him, because if it's some type of medical condition, so this fight stopped 3 times. Are they all been like medical reasons? Yeah. So like some you need.
I think the first one was like an appendectomy. I think.
No, okay, that's fine.
Now the second one was a flare up of with the side effect that he's been dealing with from COVID. It's some blood thing. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce what what it is, but it is something that it's a whatever it is, the name of it. It is a breakdown of muscle tissue, resulting in release of myoglobin into the blood. So, but not all three have been canceled because of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Because I remember, there's also a UFC fight this weekend. One of the fighters went in for an MRI, and they found, because like some doctor recommended it, and they found out his brain was bleeding,
mm,
so they had to stop the fight, and he had to go get like emergency surgery. So
mm,
the doctor found out in his physical, like, hey, I think you need to go get an MRI because something's off with your charts. And they found out, yeah, he was bleeding. It was a brain bleed. So like, like sometimes, before he enters that ring, they need to like check everything about him. You know, they need to check everything about him. And sometimes it could be a manifestation of anxiety, like physical manifestations. That happens all the time. People are like, yo, what's wrong with you? He's like, oh, it's just like anxiety and pressure manifesting in something physical. It happens all the time. We used to not know what it was back in the day. People are like, yo, what's wrong with you? Nothing looks wrong, but something's wrong with you, but we don't know what's wrong with you. But now we know it's probably anxiety or some type of pressure or some type of thing manifesting physically into you. And then when you're in like a certain area, it kind of dissipates. When then you put back into that area, which is boxing, in the boxing world around Golden Boy, it reemerges itself. But like when he's at his home with his family, it's gone. You
Mhm.
know, it could be that. I'm not trying to diagnose the brother. I'm not a doctor, but like possibly we don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
All right, if you're just tuning in, this is a reaction to Jaron Boots Ennis fight, but we're gonna be honest, there's not much to break down there. Boots looked
Whooped his ass.
excellent. He looked excellent in that fight, and that makes 28 knockouts, I believe, for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's 31-0 or 32-0, something like that now. 28 knockouts. Very impressive resume. Well, in terms of that, he needs to start beating some upper echelon fighters. That's what we're looking for now. Roiman Villa is a solid fighter to have on your resume, but he's nobody really considers him a top tier fighter. But look, you knock out a guy that's never been knocked down before. Good for you. Okay. So we're just waiting to see what's next for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not going to be Spencer Crawford next. Right. I know that's, what a lot of Boots fans want. That's what he wants. That's not going to be the next fight for him. So he mentioned Stanionis. I think this is a good opportunity now that Stanionis is, him and Ortiz, I don't think that's what's going to happen at this point. So I think him Stanionis would be a very good test for him. Very good test. And I would pick him to beat Stanionis. Right. We'll see how he will look. He's not going to look how he looked against any of his other opponents in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when you fight high upper competition like that, you're not going to look perfect, but that's fine. What I will say about Boots is, look, he he's a flashy fighter. I get that. He gets a little lackadaisical at times and gets caught. Now, it hasn't come back to haunt him yet because, he has a good chin. Like, I can see that. He's taking some hard punches and he's shaking it off, right? But you don't want to do that with the top tier fighters,
No.
right? You don't want to get caught from Bud or Spence or Ugas. Any of those guys that hit differently, right? Roiman Villa is a hard puncher. He don't hit like those top tier fighters. You know what I'm saying? And those guys know how to get to you, right? You're not gonna. And I don't think he will fight that way either. Like, he knows he's fighting a lesser competition, so he's going to put on a show, which is fine. You put on a show against lesser competition. I got no problem with that. You showcasing your skills. But that's why we want to see you fight those upper tier fighters to see what you look like when you have to put your best foot forward, right? And some of those moves that you're doing in the ring now ain't going to work against those fighters, right? What do you really have in your bag? So,
one thing I'll say about Boots, and Rome was pointing that out. Rome and I were texting during the fight, so shout out to Rome. One thing he pointed out is that Boots, he switches stances so smoothly.
Yeah.
Right. And he switches from orthodox to southpaw. Like, it's such a smooth transition. And he compared it to like when Bud does it, right? Like, it's not as smooth. And I'm like, man, you make a good point. Like sometimes I'm not even noticing that he switched until like right away I'm not noticing that he switched. So that can be, dangerous for an opponent when you have a guy that not only can fight both ways, but he does it and he transitions very, very smooth like Boots. I mean, look, we've said it here before. Boots is supremely talented, right? He's shown that his last fight before this one, people he didn't look that great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't look bad, but people expected him to get this guy out of here.
Right.
And he didn't, right? So and dude was running on his bicycle, but it gave Boots a little bit of trouble. So we need to see something different out of him this time, and but people, they started questioning Boots after that fight, and then coming to this one with a guy that beat a young talent in Rashidi Ellis, a guy that had 24 knockouts himself, as you guys said, never been down, never been knocked out. People started questioning Boots, and what he had, and they wanted to see if he had a chin and things like that. And as you said, I mean, he got caught with a couple, solid punches, and it had no effect on him. So, like I said, salute the Boots, but we gotta see something else. I mean, that man got 30, 31 fights. All right. And he's only 26, right? He's still young, but to be if he's gonna move to the next level or thrust his name in the mix of being one of the greats in this game, he's got to start knocking off some of these bigger names. And I already know what the Boots Army is going to say, people, that he's being ducked and all of that. Yeah, I think to a certain degree he has been ducked, but he's a big enough name at this point where he can start forcing his way into those rooms, and telling Al Heyman and his management to make these fights happen. There's enough talent there. Yeah, it might not be one of the two big fish, but there's enough talent there that he can make a big fight and, showcase what he really about. So hopefully we get to see that.
Yeah, I don't even think he's been ducked, right? Like who's really ducking him? I mean, he's been laser focused on Spence and Crawford. Like they have other fights to make. You know what I'm saying? I mean, David Avenesian isn't. I can't defend that, but right,
Should never
but
defend that.
but I mean, the guys that Spence have been fighting, you can't. I mean, he can't really make a case that, hey, you should fight me over them. Like, yes, Boots fans will look at it and say, no, well, Boots is better than those guys. He hasn't proven it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can look at him and say, look, he looks really good. He hasn't proven it. He hasn't beaten any of them. He hasn't fought any of them, right? And you don't have a resume like like, I mean, you trying to skip the line. Why? Because you're a flashy fighter, right? I mean, we can sit there and say, like, you'll have some boxing heads that say, oh, if you know boxing, he's better. Yeah, okay. Look, you don't know until he gets in the ring and proves it. That's this is what it comes down to. You can explain all day why you think it's a it's a no brainer, but yeah, he hasn't done anything yet. Ferris, you got to head out.
Yeah, I gotta head out. I gotta go back to work. So thank you guys so much for inviting me on the stream, by the way.
Hey, tell people where they can find you real quick.
Yeah, you can find me on the Let's Get Ready Network, Highlights YouTube channel, where we have all our sports stuff. Coming up, we're gonna have a couple of actually I've been doing the series on FIFA 23. I created my own club, so it's me playing FIFA. We have a bunch of videos coming on the next 2 weeks of me just playing FIFA on that channel. So we're at 99 subscribers. We're almost to 100. So make sure to like and subscribe, everybody.
Oh, we gotta get you to 100. You're one away. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, appreciate you coming through, Ferris.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Yeah. And one more thing. Boxers really need to start relaxing on them shorts. I don't understand. Why are they wearing, like, why do you have feathers?
They're called trunks. And it's
trunks,
for
my bad.
it's to be flashy, the showmanship. Okay.
Why do you need feathers, though? I don't understand the feathers. Like, why you a cockatoo? What are we doing here? Like, oh, like you a peacock? Like, I don't understand.
Peacocking, Paris.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I remember when Mario. I remember was it Javante Davis knocking out that one dude? Was it Mario Barrios? Was him?
No, you're thinking of I can't remember the guy's name, but he was when he came out in that I mean, looking like basically Elmo or whatever,
Or something like that. Like he was wearing like some like pink trunks with like a feather and like a
feather boa wrapped around.
Yeah, I'm like, what happened when you just wearing a trunk that's like white and black? I'm very confused here.
But you remembered it though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I want to stab myself in the eye.
But you remembered it.
Yeah, unfortunately. I also remember Muhammad Ali's trunks.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you didn't remember them because you weren't alive. Like
It's iconic. It's iconic Everlast, man. The iconic, the whites and the black trim. The ones that his grandson wears. Y'all know Nico Ali Wash is his grandson. Y'all know that?
What?
Can't believe it.
They only say it every time.
All
right, Ferris.
All right, guys, stay safe.
Stay easy, man. But yeah, like, listen, he, yes, they'll say that he's been ducked. He hasn't been ducked. He has to start fighting some high competition to really put himself out there. Now he starts pounding on those guys, then he can say, all right, he's ready to fight, for the title. But right now, I just don't see how you can put him over Ugas or Keith Thurman. Stanionis hasn't really fought anybody either, right? But he's recognized as one of those better boxers, those upper tier boxers, and Boots is too. But saying like when you don't have the resume, you gotta go out there and do something. So this next fight that he takes is gonna be crucial for him. So.
Yeah, I mean, those guys, Ortiz, Stanionis, they haven't really fought top tier competition either.
No.
But one, they have a lot fewer fights for one.
Yeah,
Stanionis is 14-0, and they're not. I mean, not that they wouldn't want a Spencer or a Crawford fight, but you don't really hear them just talking nonstop about that's who I want. I deserve. And to be fair, it's more his fans than Ennis himself. That are really pushing it, but
yeah.
You take one of those fights. Stanionis, if Ortiz gets cleared and gets back into the ring, Ugas, Thurman, any one of those guys puts you in position to say, hey, I'm next in line for Crawford or Spence, whoever wins, whoever comes out on top after that one and the eventual rematch.
Yeah.
Or you know what? If those guys are really not wanting to fight you, move.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Now I got a question. So this fight should have been Rashidi Ellis, right? Rashidi Ellis was doing similar things to Roiman Villa until he got caught late and got knocked down twice in the last round and lost a decision that people still thought he should have won. And Rashidi Ellis was going back and forth with Boots before that, and he swore up and down he would beat Boots. I don't think that'd be true. But do you think this would have been a more interesting fight if it were Rashidi Ellis?
Not really. I don't think so, because I don't think that Ellis would have lasted as long as Villa did. Roiman has a rock solid chin, and obviously Ellis doesn't have the same kind of power that Villa or Ennis has, right? So you're just looking at I hate to say it like this, but kind of a worse version of Jaron Ennis, and I think he would have gone in there and taken him out pretty quickly, relatively quickly.
I would like to say it would have been a better fight, but I would have to probably agree with B. Rashidi, another talented cat. I don't think he, even when he was talking this smack and he had a long layoff, and I think his layoff was due to contract, wasn't it?
I think so, because he was undergoing.
Yeah, he was kind of, he was benched.
Yeah. So, but I don't think he, I don't think he was ready for Boots. Could he have given Boots some issue in some places? I think where Rashidi would have given Boots um, issue, or maybe not issue, but more of a problem than we saw tonight was speed, right?
Yeah.
Um, Roman he lacks speed.
Yeah.
He you could see times where he got frustrated because he would punch his gloves together because what he wanted to do he just couldn't do.
Yeah.
He saw certain things where he wanted to counter, but Boost was just too fast. So I think Rashidi would have been, faster, obviously faster than him, but that could have slowed down Boots' attack a little bit. But I think Boots would have won. He would have won tonight if he was fighting Rashidi.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't have anything else to add. Like, it might have looked different because Rashidi is faster. He can move better. He's not a standing target. But ultimately, he gets put away too, I think. All right. Look. There's some other things to discuss as well. We might as well go through it while we're here. We got some fights coming up. Some fights that we thought were going to happen that aren't happening. Okay, Usyk and Usyk and Fury was one. They said that's not going to happen, and Joshua versus Wilder. Joshua versus Wilder. Well, no. If you listen to Eddie Hearn said that's happening later on in the year. What did he say? November, December timeframe. But Joshua's next fight is a rematch against Dillian White.
And Eddie Hearn's a lying liar who lies. So, so I'm not sure that we're gonna believe that. But yeah, I mean, there was talk about a heavyweight kind of super card featuring 4 of the top guys, and then very quickly they all signed other fights.
Yeah.
And the talk is that Fury and Ngannou are going to announce a fight pretty soon here. So I mean, the heavyweight division it's kind of a joke. Yeah. There's one fight to make in that division, and one of those dudes don't want to make it.
Yeah, and that's a shame that we won't get to see it. And you know what? While we're talking about Eddie Hearn, like Eddie reminds me of John Harbaugh when he talks about like injuries. Like, yeah, Lamar will be back in a week. Like Eddie talks that way about like these fights that's supposed to happen, and it's like you get hype, like all right, man, because he got his hand in some kind of way. He wanted to promote it, so you would think you could trust what he's saying. But yeah, man, I'm losing faith in everything that he's saying. He also said this week that Haney and Regis Prograis is basically at the finish line. So I don't know if I believe that anymore, because now we see Haney, and Shakur going at it, and then there's a chance for the rematch with Loma. So I don't know what to believe what he says anymore. But it is a shame that the heavyweight division can't get it together.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mikey. He's at the point now. Something needs to come through this year for him, because he might be on his way out. Like you can't make any fights. He already has a reputation. Like he can't really make any fights in the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to come through on something. That Wilder and Joshua fight better happen, right? Regis is under you now. Like Regis, you say that fight's at the finish line. Regis and Devin Haney better happen, and I don't think it is. Nobody's talking about that, right? Haney ain't talking about that. He talking about everybody else. He talked about today or yesterday, whatever it was. We talked about it. That the fight that's number one on his list is Tank. Right.
To be fair, if Haney's not talking about it, that's a pretty good indicator that it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so we're okay. Why are we talking about Haney? You mentioned Haney and Shakur. supposedly he sent the offer over to Shakur Stevenson that Shakur turned down because it was a 75-25% split. Right now, I think that's too low. Obviously, Haney argues and Haney supporters argue that hey, when Haney went and fought Kambosos, he took a 22% right cut. Right, if you're trying to be great, you're trying go for the belts, then that's what you should do. Right. What say I have my opinion. What say you guys? Do you agree with this mindset, or is he talking nonsense?
Haney took less because he was jumping the line and nobody knew who he was, and he wasn't going to get that fight otherwise. Shakur's going to get the fight. I mean, Haney went over there and washed Kambosos twice, and still nobody cares who he is. So he is not in the same position as Shakur Stevenson.
I care, Devin. I care.
I mean,
I think you're an excellent fighter, Devin.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying nobody cares he's an excellent fighter. So yeah, it's not the same situation at all. And I mean, he honestly needs that fight more than Shakur needs it, because Shakur already has his name even without like any big time wins. I mean, he beat Valdez, but I mean it wasn't a huge win. And reality is he can just sit and wait one more fight for Haney to drop all those belts, or maybe his next fight, if you believe the liar. And he's just going to be moving up to 140, right? So,
Mikey, what say you?
Man, I agree with B. Yeah, I don't think it was the same. We saw we saw Haney celebrating when Kambosos beat Teofimo. Right, there's a video of him jumping up for joy. There's some when leading up to the fight with Kambosos. Kambosos showed some DM messages from Haney. After the fight, look, we spoke about it on here before. Haney thought going over there to get the belts, it was going to catapult him to stardom, right? Yeah. And to being a household name. I do give him credit. Did he dare to be great? Sure. But I do give him credit for going over there. And we said on this show as well that, he was going to have to go over there and he was going to have to, have a 50-point Michael Jordan game in the Garden, because he was going to foreign territory, going to his homeland, and anything close, they may have taken it from him. And he watched them, right? He watched them. But, I do think 75-25 is too low, right? The one thing about Shakur that I give him credit for, I've heard him say on numerous occasions with different fighters, that it's not about, he knows that he's not the A side. So I don't think he's expecting a 50-50 split. I don't think he's expecting slightly more or anything, right? Me personally, 65-35 should be the minimum. 60-40 should be the max, right? I do think Haney is undisputed champion, and for that reason, he is the A side in this case. He should get a little bit more or get the lion's share of it, but I think 25 is way too low for that type of fight. I mean, you're talking about a mega fight, right? This is a mega fight, and if it's done right, both of these fighters can eat very, very well, but I don't think either one of these fighters should put like, this ain't one of those dare to be great situations, right? We all know what these two of the youngest, best boxers in the game, right? You don't take this type of fight and risk what it could do, what the outcome could be, and you aren't, taking care of or paid handsomely for it, right? And I understand these fighters should want to fight each other, and that's all, it's all fine and dandy. But I just think this is a mega fight, and you don't put that that type of money in the opponent's hands. You know what y'all can do with this fight. And I think 25% was a slap in the face, honestly, for somebody like Shakur.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris White. He says Haney paying all the sanctioning fees though. He's his own promoter right now. That don't mean anything. Like, what's he promoting? Right? Okay, he's promoting himself. But what fight is he gonna do? Right? Look again. I mean,
Dr. Stevenson,
plug cap, Dr. Stevenson. So, plug. You think Stevenson is ducking because he won't take a bad deal? Like, this is still a business, right? And Shakur Stevenson isn't nobody. Now, when Haney went for the belts, he wasn't well known, right? Obviously, he was an excellent fighter, but like B said, he did that because he knew that was that's an easy win. He can get those belts real quick, and he can be in a position where he can offer 25%, right? But Shakur Stevenson is moving up in weight class, and the class that he was in before, he was undisputed champion, right? He held onto the belts. He had an impressive win. Ratings wise, because neither one of them had pay-per-view were pay-per-view fighters up until this Haney versus Lomachenko, but ratings wise, they both had pretty high ratings, I believe. For the Oscar Valdez fight and for Haney and Kambosos, I think both of those fights.
Not even really that high. Like, they were both a bit over 1 million viewers.
Yeah,
but like Teofimo and Lomachenko did just under 3. Viewers. So and that's like, I don't really see it as a mega fight, like I was saying, because to me, when you say mega fight, that's money. And I don't think that they're going to be able to sell this fight. Haney is not a draw at all. At this point, Stevenson hasn't proven that he's a draw either. So I'm not sure, like, you throw that on pay-per-view, like, how many buys do you realistically expect that fight to do?
Yeah, look, this is how negotiations work anyway, right? You get a low ball offer, they go back and forth. Oh yeah, they're scared. That's this and that, and then eventually the fight happens. And if it doesn't happen right now, like B said, like Mikey said, these guys are super young, so it's not a duck. It's a business move, and they're patient. They have all the time in the world. So if it doesn't happen right now, Shakur could. Okay, so here's the thing: if Shakur doesn't do this fight, I could easily see him saying, "Give me Lomachenko."
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right, I'll actually beat him. That's what Shakur would say. I listen. I think Haney beat Lomachenko, for the record, right? But if I'm Shakur, I'm like, all right, well, you don't want to fight me? I'll fight Lomachenko, and I'll actually win the fight, right? And if he wins impressively, that's gonna put more pressure on Haney. Now the next time they come to the table, he can be like, actually, people think, I'm kind of a bigger draw than you. You know what I'm saying? I put a show on against your boy Lomachenko. I need 50-50, right? Or worse, he fights Lomachenko, beats Lomachenko, and he just says, yeah, give me Tank. And him and Tank get something done. Now there's no going back, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if he won. I don't think he would beat Tank, but if he did, damn them belts, right? Them belts won't matter. Now he is the A side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and listen, doesn't mean this fight has to happen right now, but we're talking about what's next for Haney. Haney has a few good options out there. Breeders' Progress isn't a bad option. That's for a belt, right? Obviously, him and Shakur Stevenson ain't a bad option, and a rematch with Lomachenko ain't a bad option, and him and Tank is the best option. I don't see why that fight couldn't be next. As much as you've been calling them out, you need to make that fight your next fight. But he has options here. Which one he's going to take, I don't know. Chris
that
said,
Tank fight ain't happening.
Yeah, I feel like it's not going to be next because Haney wants to keep his belts and stay undefeated.
Chris says, just saying he usually has the co-promoter pay the boxing fees. Yeah, I hear you. Haney Shakur need to meet at 147. I don't see Shakur moving up that high.
Well, either in 3 or 4 years.
Oh, in 3 or 4 years. Got you. I mean, Haney's moved up. He's talking about moving up there now, right?
To 140, yeah.
140. I'm sorry. Yeah, 140. Yeah. 147 ain't gonna happen for a minute. 147 is what is that? That's
welterweight with Spence and Crawford and Ennis and them.
No.
Oh shit, Spence gone after this.
Spence moving up. Yeah. You won't be around there where Boots is dominating either. 3 or 4 years. You're right, Chris. 3 or 4 years. Bud will be retired. Spence would have been moved up. He'd probably be retired in 3 or 4 years too. Boots might even move up by then. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You still got Stanley Jonas there. Keith Thurman will be retired. Yeah, it'll be a different landscape. You might be onto something, Chris. You might be onto something. But that's a lot of ways to move up, especially when you don't have knockout power as it is now.
Right. And that's the thing that scares me about Haney, that even going to 140. Now, I mean, there's not a ton of talent at 140 right now. So I think he'd be fine. But you get a couple of punchers there, and who knows?
Yeah. There's another story I want to talk about. I can't remember now. What else was going on in the boxing world? Was that it?
A whole lot.
What's up, D Weezy? Thanks for coming through, man. Appreciate
you.
It's almost 2:00 and you guys are hanging tight, man. Make sure you hit that like button. I didn't think this was gonna be anybody in here, right? I didn't think so. I thought it was gonna be a quick 15-minute stream because that fight look, we're here to talk about Boots Ennis. There's not much to talk about. He washed that dude.
Mm-hmm.
They had him winning every round. That was very accurate. Some of those rounds where it wasn't a knockdown, I still scored a 10-8. That's how bad he was putting a beating on your man Villa. Right. Complete wash. And I like to see it. I like to see fighters like that just really put on a show against lesser competition because that's what gets people talking. You know, me and B talk about it all the time in MMA. Like, we wish that they would showcase some of these upper tier fighters against those lower tier fighters like that from time to time, so that you can see the different levels of competition. Right? We don't know if Boots is gonna be the man, right? But when he puts on shows like this, it gets you excited to see what he can do against top competition. Ferris says he needs my help after the show. Okay, you could have just messaged me. What do you need help with, Ferris? It's 2 a.m. I'm going to bed. Ryan Garcia training with Derek James. Oscar says he's happy about it. He said he needs that, that disciplinarian, whatever. Oscar's not happy. Okay. Derek James has a bunch of PBC fighters in his gym. Oscar's not happy about that. Ryan Garcia also posted, it was probably on Instagram, like a video of him. He's watching an old he's watching a Mayweather video where Mayweather was fighting De La Hoya, saying he's trying to learn from the best or whatever. Talking about Mayweather.
The mudslinging between those two is it's look, Oscar staying in the middle of all of that beef stuff. He beefing with his own fighter, right? And then him and Eddie Hearn, when they go at it on Twitter, it is hilarious. So you talking about, Oscar for the smoke, apparently, or he's either that or he afraid he running low on his fighters.
Yeah. That's a wrap. I don't know how many more years Ryan Garcia has with De La Hoya, but I don't think he's going to see the end of that contract. He's going to find a way to get out of that contract. He's going to have to let Ryan Garcia out, right? He gets bought out or whatever, but Ryan Garcia ain't going to stay there. Virgil Ortiz, I don't know what's going on with Virgil Ortiz, right? But that's it. Who else you got?
You got his little cousin.
Yeah. What happened to his cousin? Diego De La Hoya.
He chilling.
What's his name? A light heavyweight. Who lost to Bivol. He's a good fighter, but Zurdo. Yeah, Zurdo Ramirez. But I mean, yeah, man. Like that's it. Munguia. He's like, look, I can't protect him anymore. I ran out of tomato cans.
Well, maybe we see Munguia in Berlanga.
I would like to see that fight. I think that could be a decent sized fight in terms of pay-per-views, right? Because Mexico versus Puerto Rico is always, it's always a rivalry, and they're young undefeated fighters. But man, Munguia, Berlanga needs a lot of work. I think he would knock Munguia the F out. Munguia is not looking good, man. Like when I first saw Munguia, I was like, okay, he's pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I want to see him fight somebody. 4 years later, we're like, when's he gonna fight? And then we see him fight, like, he didn't win that fight. I don't know, Munguia, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but you gotta. He don't be calling out nobody either. Like you talk to him after the fight. Hey, what's next for you, man? I don't know. I just
he's just doing his job.
You don't fight anybody? Nah.
I'm making money not though. Like
right. I'm staying in shape. I'm working the bags.
He's another one. Like 40 plus. Like he got 40 fights.
Right. Who'd he beat?
Right. Like I mean
7 or 8 Carloses. I don't know. Like he know who he beat. Y'all know who he beat. He beat whoever was in front of him.
Yeah,
right? He don't make the fights.
I guess at the end of the day, that's what it is. Be who's in front of you.
They ducking him. They ducking him.
All right, man. All right, we gonna end it there. We didn't get to the stream after the Jared Anderson fight. Your thoughts on Jared Anderson? I'll start this time, man. Like Jared Anderson, a good young prospect. He ain't there yet, though, right? And I hope they don't try to fast track him. He's not a top heavyweight yet. He's got a lot of skill. Moves really well for a heavyweight. I like the way he moves. He has to work on his defense, right? That's going to be, if he's going to be that guy, he's going to have to get it done that way. Move well, hit, not get hit. He has decent power, but he ain't got that one hitter quitter, right? He ain't got that. Hey, if he catches you, it's a wrap. So he's gonna have to get it done with his skill, and he's got skill. He's got to work on that. Stop trying to, slip every punch and try to, rock your head back to avoid every hit, because them heavyweights, man, they're so tall and they got long reach. He found out fighting Charles Martin that sometimes you gotta put your hand up because he can catch you. And had he had a little bit better defense, some better discipline, keeping his hands up, it wouldn't have been as hard of a fight for him. Mm-hmm. So, but he's got some work to do. But I still like his trajectory in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, he's already, there's talks that he's gonna fight in August. Mm. So he's hungry.
That's right. Yeah,
he's hungry to get back in the ring. Look, I think he looked good for a majority of the fight. I think in the later rounds, which is territory that's foreign to him because he's been knocking everybody out. He got a little lackadaisical. You know, he got a little lazy in some regards. But I think, you know, he has a talent um, to be one of the better heavyweights in that division. But like you said, he's not ready for, you know, the top guy. He's not ready for Wilder. He's not ready for Joshua. He's not ready for any of them. He's not like even like somebody like Andy Ruiz. Like I would tread lightly on putting him in the ring with him. Um, you know, right now. But I think he's moving in the right direction. Like super athletic for somebody that big. Like, you know, I can't help but to think when watching him fight, like, yo, can you imagine this dude is like a defensive end or something? Like, cause I mean, super quick. You
Right.
know, he's about 6'4". Like, he moves very, very well. I mean, I wonder if he played football or something else. But anyway, um, but yeah, man, you know, I think he ran into a situation where you know, the hype was building. He headlined this card. The hype is building on him. You know, they expect you to knock everybody out. And when it does not happen, you know, they start to pick apart your game. Right. He did get caught and get hit with a, you know, and I think he was hurt in a couple instances. Or at least buzzed. But he fought through, man. It happens. It happens. You're gonna see that with these guys, and as they take, you know, bigger leaps in talent against, you know, as far as their opponents, you're gonna see this. You're gonna see them get touched up sometimes. You know, it just happens. But I'm not soured on him at all. I know a lot of people were soured on him, but um, you know, he's still very, very like Ferris is saying, he's still very, very raw. Still has a lot to learn, but I think he'll be fine. Before you go, B, though, one thing that does scare me about this kid is, um, and I remember sending this to a couple buddies that, um, you know, we were texting during the fight. I don't think my fear is that he doesn't love boxing, right? Like he looks like a kid, and the way he talks, he he doesn't talk like somebody who's like eats, sleeps, and you know what, boxing, like a lot of the other guys. And that that could be his downfall, you know, if it's not something that he really, really loves to do. And I don't really see that yet. I think it's something he knows he's really good at. It's something that he knows he can make a lot of money in, if he keeps on the right path. But I don't think he loves this right now. I don't see that he loves the sport of boxing right now, and you know, that could be troubling. He's still young, 23 years old.
Yeah. Especially for
Yeah,
heavyweight.
I don't think he loves boxing. I mean, they made a point 5, 6, 7 times of telling you on the broadcast that he says repeatedly he wants to be out of
He
boxing by
want to be out,
27.
right?
I'm like, but you haven't. Just 20 or 23, you haven't done anything yet, right?
Mhm,
Like he's looking for a payday and supposedly wants to get out, right?
mhm,
So I mean, yeah, like Ferris said, he is still raw. He's defensively, he's got to tighten things up. You know, but like I said, that was his first fight that went that distance, and I thought that he looked you know tired at the end of the
mhm,
fight, but
mhm,
he still did what he needed to do. He still was able to fight through getting rocked, and he came back and won those late rounds and won himself the fight. Um, you know, in terms of his future, I think that I mean it's an incredibly weak division.
mhm,
So you're looking at was Fury 38. Usyk's about that also. Deontay Wilder, we know, doesn't really have any skill. Anthony Joshua looks the part, but doesn't really show up for all of his big fights. So if he waits until he's like 26, I mean, he'll I mean, he can walk into those titles, right? And then take 2 or 3 fights in that 26, 27 year, make some money and be out.
Although he looks like it, Fury is only 34 years old.
No, there's no way he's
He
34.
he looks 38. He looks 38, but he's only 30.
But well, okay, that's fine. But he's 1 foot out the door anyway.
Always,
But,
he's always
yeah.
1 foot out the door.
Yeah. So like for the heavyweight division, I don't think any of those guys love boxing, right?
Usyk does.
My bad. Usyk, yes. Yes, except Usyk. Excuse me, except Usyk. I don't
He
think
loves the
Tyson.
glory.
I don't think Tyson Fury loves boxing. Don't think Deontay Wilder loves boxing. I know he doesn't love boxing.
Yeah.
He refuses to learn a jab. I don't think Anthony Joshua loves boxing. I think he loves it more now. I think those fights with Usyk, channel something inside of him. We'll see, but it's, at that level, we talked about that. You don't see too many athletes at the heavyweight division anymore. That's why the heavyweight division kind of fell off a little bit, right? It's not the same as those other divisions. I mean, we're talking about Boots, tonight, at welterweight. You look at middleweight, super middleweight, all the way up. Like those guys are for real. Like that when you talk about like live and breathe boxing, that's those guys. I don't think you have that across the board in the heavyweight division, except for Usyk. Yeah, Usyk is that man is all business. That man will fight for free, right? He just wants to win. So, excuse me, Jaron Anderson, yeah, he talking that, right? He wants to be retired by 27. What's crazy is, 10 years from now, he'll still be younger than these fighters now. Right? These guys are older. Right. There's no need to rush for him. But look, okay, that's your goal. Your goal is to have a couple big fights, make some money, and be out the sport. I ain't gonna knock you for that. But you have a lot more work to do. And I say this, to turn around and fight in August, you may not love the sport, but you damn sure respect it and you have certain dedication to it. So I can respect that for sure. Because if it's this were Keith Thurman, you wouldn't see him until 2025. All right. Anything else before we get out of here? Nothing. We are good. All right. We streamed for over an hour. Thank you, everybody. It is past 2:00. That everybody's hung out with us up until this point. Dominating performance by Boots Ennis. Congrats to him. Can't wait to see what's next for him. And look, we got some fights coming up. We're going to do some more streams in the near future, give you another episode in the near future. In fact, we are past due for our pound for pound list. So we're going to work on that. We're going to talk about when we're going to get that out to you. But yes, very excited for all that. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. And if you're new, and you're watching the replay, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Ring Kings Pod. All right. Also, if you are in the Maryland area, August 4th, we are having a meet and greet in Columbia, Maryland. Okay, at Bus Boys and Poets. Get your tickets today. You can find the description. You can find the link in our description. Okay, click that link to Eventbrite. All right, it's going to be food, drinks, alcoholic drinks via Cash Bar. We're going to be giving away prizes. It's going to be music there. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so go buy your tickets. All right, B, Mikey, any last words?
Nah, man, Boots. Why did he fight so late tonight?
Yeah,
I was wondering that too. Like, bro, but nonetheless, he looks good. But they gotta figure out these. They gotta figure out these boxing matches, man. Starting so late.
Yeah, and sell some cheaper tickets because me and Mikey were planning on driving out to Atlantic City to watch them fight, but not at those prices. Not for Roiman Villa. Okay, sorry, it was entertaining, but no.
Yeah, I would have been mad.
Yes,
go up there for that drubbing.
All right, y'all, we are out of here. B, are you ready, or do you need me to?
I'm ready.
B is ready. Thank you very much. Have a great night, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Things that you